Alright, it says I'm live, so I'm gonna assume I'm live. Welcome! It's actually yesterday was my birthday, but welcome to the Media's Live Show, episode 10. We got quite a few things to talk about today. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be. Because I was not able to make the time to catch up with everything that I had been watching. The only things that I managed to catch up on are Don Don and the No, I Will Not Be Your Lover. Kind of says a lot about me that those were my priorities. Big thing this past week was the return of the Ruby podcast. So good to talk with Dude and Coop again, talking about Ice Queendom. That video hasn't come out yet, has it? No, the video. Yeah, we recorded the first new batch of podcasts the 2 weeks ago. That got released last week. That's why I didn't do the live show last week. Was because I decided that I would rather spend that little bit of free time getting that video finished up. We did record a podcast on Ice Queendom. I have not started editing that yet, even though it's been like 4 days. I've been very busy this weekend, and with birthday stuff mostly. And we are going to be recording a podcast for the Ruby X Justice League crossover. I did watch those. I will not talk about them here because I will save that for the podcast. But let's just say I kind of like the second one. Um, that's all I'll say about that. Uh, but the big thing we have to talk about is censorship because there have been a lot of things going on the past 2 weeks about censorship. There's a bill that's on the floor in Congress right now that's going to like restrict certain content, and I am against it. Obviously, I will not vote Donald Trump again because he's not going to be able to run again. But if this bill passes, I will likely not vote at all in 2028. Or at least not for either of the major party candidates. I'll vote third party in 2028 if this bill passes. Because this is all stemming from an activist group that's been around for a long time called Collective Shout. They recently hit the news about a week or two ago because they're the ones who were harassing Visa and MasterCard in order to cut support to Steam. So, because Steam allows games with adult content, everyone who uses Steam and Steam itself has to suffer because of these assholes. And that's what they are. Give me just a sec. I just realized I was muted there. Uh, so, where was I? What was the last thing I said before I muted myself to blow my nose? Alright, so, they're talking about having this age verification software where you have to like take a photo of your ID and put all your personal information online in order to access the internet, and that is just a disaster waiting to happen. That's lawsuits waiting to happen. That is identity theft. That is begging for identity theft, because that's exactly what will happen, and I know that's exactly what will happen because that's what has already happened. That's what has already happened with stuff like Steam and Sony, the PlayStation Store. Like, I remember when the PlayStation Network got hacked. This was like, I want to say this was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It was a long time ago. It was when the PS3 was still active. It was still the main console. Uh, PlayStation Network got hacked. Everybody's fucking personal information and credit card information got compromised. And Sony were really slow to do anything about it. And the only thing that they did as compensation was like, oh, here's Infamous and Little Big Planet for free. Sorry, that's all we can do right now. Bye. So, and the government is wanting to have that for the entire internet. All because parents won't keep their kids offline. This is the parents' responsibility. This should not be up to the government. The government will always find a way to fuck it up. Even worse than the prior example with Sony. Like, the government can't even keep their own personal information off of War Thunder. Like, it's a big meme that every time something happens on War Thunder, it ends up, like, unveiling all these, like, government secrets, like, top secret information keeps getting leaked on a fucking video game app. And these are the people you want to have all your personal information and determine, like, who can and can't be online. That's the bill that's on the Senate floor right now, getting voted on or getting argued on. And, like, when it comes to adult content on the internet, like, I don't see any reason for something like OnlyFans to exist. Like, I'm not like pro porn or anything like that, especially not anymore. I used to be like way more pro all that stuff, but as I've gotten older, I'm 32 now. I just don't care. It's not for me. I tried it. I tried like getting into it. I really gave it the good old college try, but like, I don't think sex work is real work. I don't think it's worth what they are asking for. But I don't think it's a good idea to like have the government in charge of outlawing it. Again, like, this is all up to personal. Like, if you are someone who spends, I mean, if you're spending like $20-$30 a week or whatever on whatever it is that floats your boat, I'm not gonna care. Like, that's your own personal like cost investment. That is your own like, you are making a financial decision there. But when you're paying like 50, hundred, thousands of dollars on something that you can get on Pornhub for free, you're just an idiot. And you can't legislate stupidity away, just like you can't legislate hatred away. Like, we have all these laws about like all these hate crimes, and we've done made murder illegal thousands and thousands of years ago, and people still get murdered. You're not going to be able to just legislate these problems away. All you're going to do is, well, you're not going to really do anything. It's not going to work. You like my gulping there? Now, there are differences, and I've talked about this in the past, between like self censorship, what I would consider like studio or platform censorship and government censorship, because the government is stupid. They're ran by a bunch of old retards who don't know what they're doing. They will always take the worst lesson possible from every bit of victory. Uh, Now, when it comes to like platform censorship, these need to be clearly defined guidelines. And sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. YouTube is really bad about like making it clear what they do and don't allow on their platform. Steam, on the other hand, is pretty crystal clear what they do and don't allow on their platform most of the time. Nintendo is super clear. Like they have their lawyers ready to brick your Switch 2 if you step out of line even just an inch. Uh and that's all, those are all like contractual stuff. That's all contractual stuff. When you decide to put a game on Steam, you are signing these forms to verify that you are staying within the rules that Steam outlined. And of course, there's different guidance systems, and like the MPAA gets used a lot for this. I think because they're just the most famous, or maybe even one of the first. Where like, okay, if you want to be PG-13, you get one F bomb. If you do more than one F bomb, you're automatically rated R. If you show like this level of nudity, you're rated R. If you show this level of nudity, you're PG-13. Like a lot of time, but a lot of times it doesn't really make sense. Like there's rated R movies where there's like no nudity, no violence, and just like two swear words. But then there's PG-13 movies that are like really intense and really like violent and horny. Um, but that's like a lot of gray areas that the MPAA people have to like try to navigate. And everyone's different. Everyone's gonna see violence and sex and stuff as in a different light. You can't really put that stuff in a box. But when they have an issue, they need to be able to clearly articulate it. Otherwise, it's not fair. So like there used to be like the whatever rule, the whatever words you can't say on television. Like you're just not allowed to say those words on television. That was like very clearly stated. Doesn't matter the context. Doesn't matter anything else surrounding it. You do not say these words, and that was fair. It wasn't necessarily fun, but it was fair. And then there's the self censorship stuff, which is like a creative choice where like like the fact that I don't use the word boobs in Agents of Nightwatch. That is a personal thing for me. A personal challenge, actually. It's not even that I'm a prude or that I don't like titties. It's that I just think it's more creative fulfilling for me if I don't use the word boobs. Especially in a story with so many fantastical female characters. It's really difficult to try to like slide all that in and innuendo and subtlety, and it's really fun for me to write that. Uh, and it again, like it's not that I'm a prude, like or that I'm you know try to keep it PG-13 or PG or whatever. Like I'm not. Like it is rated R. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of violence and death. There's like actual sexual assault that is not shown but is told about. Because I have no interest in describing those situations. I have no interest in describing sex. Sex will happen in the Ages of Nightwatch. It's gonna be like two characters kissing, laying on a bed, and then it cuts to black. They wake, and the next chapter starts. They're in bed, getting dressed. That's how it's going to be in the Ages of Nightwatch. But there's f bombs. Like I know for a fact there's a really big f bomb about two-thirds of the way through the Nephilim strain, my second book. Um, where like it's after Oliver gets captured by Corlarva the vampire, and Rachel's freaking out, and Dodger tells her to calm down, and she's like, "Do not fucking tell me to calm down." There's a lot of that stuff, and a lot of it from Rachel. She's kind of like the more worldly character amongst the cast of Nightwatch. So she gets a brunt of the language and a lot brunt of the sex talk as well. Um, Very experienced in that regard. And I also try not to make it like a joke. Like I try to like keep it serious. Like I don't want Rachel's mistakes or the victimhood that she has experienced be a running gag. I don't want that. I want to take it seriously. I want to do it justice. But anyway, so that's all I really wanted to say about censorship. I did see a little bit of a tangent, a little bit of an aside. I did see recently that people are dunking on ProZD again because if you don't know, ProZD is the one that really reaped what he sowed about like casting decisions. How like he was complaining about uh Asian characters being voiced by non-Asian actors and how it was like cutting into his bottom line because that's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to like the paycheck. ProZD was complaining that he wasn't getting enough work. So he's like, hey, I can do all these Asian voices. Why can't I play more Asian characters? Oh, because the Whitey is taking them. But then he did the exact opposite and started bitching about the shoe being on the other foot, where he tried getting a role in whatever show. I don't even know what show it was or if that was even clarified. But he only ever got the script for the Asian character. It's like, I'll read for this, but can I please play like one of the non-Asian characters? Like, no, because you asked for it. So fuck him. He gets no sympathy from me. He reaped what he sowed, and I am so glad that the internet has not let him forget it. Even though that happened like 4 or 5 years ago. That happened a while ago. I think it happened more like 6 or 7. I feel like that was pre-COVID that happened. Uh, but let's actually get on to the docket. Which watch? Have not caught up on it yet. I only watched. I have 2 episodes I have to watch still. The only episode I haven't talked about yet is I don't even remember what all happened. Kiryuin moved in. He's getting established into the household. He's a vampire. He's kind of obnoxious, honestly. I'm not a fan. But then later on in that episode, we got a Nemu Meow and Wolf scene. She tricks Koga into becoming Wolf per her agreement with Wolf. And had the funniest line in the entire series where Nico is like, "What have you done to Miss Meow?" And Wolf is like, "I haven't done anything to her yet." What do you mean yet? Like she straight up says that. It was really funny. Like my kind of humor. Like that's the kind of humor I would do. Uh, let's talk about Don now. I 2 episodes, last 2 episodes. They sealed away the evil eye. It was really creative how they dealt with the evil eye. And how it's a big Ranma reference. Though, I imagine people who are reading Don might not have been familiar with Ranma, but Ranma did just recently get a remake. So I feel like a lot more people are going to be hip to that reference now than when the manga did it however many years ago. But it's fun having Ira back. It's fun having the Manuscript guys back. I actually complained about Taro for when season 1 came out. I didn't understand like what the purpose of that character was. I felt like he used up too much screen time. I should have known that they were cooking something, uh, and they did cook in this episode, and it really it built up to the funny moment where like you think he's about to turn. You think Gigi's about to turn into the evil eye. You think something's about to get spilled on him, but then it doesn't. But then it does the exact same shot, like it's a tracking shot. And he does, and he just flips the table, and then it cuts to the ending. I don't think that's gonna really turn into much. I think that was just done for gag purposes. Um, but speaking of not gag purposes, the scene with Momo and Okunun in the car where she's like playing with his hand is like, girl, you know what you're doing. But now let's talk about a girl who doesn't know what she's doing. It's time to talk about. Well, I didn't want to do this next. That was not next on the docket, but I saw a segue and I took it. No, I will not become your lover. It did not handle the lack of consent as well as I would have hoped. I do not love this show. I do love Renako. I love her stupid face. That's the reason why I made her the thumbnail this week. I love all the facial expressions she makes. It reminds me of something that Bryan Cranston said in regards to Malcolm in the Middle. His character in Malcolm in the Middle, where he was talking about how Hal, which is the name of his character in that show, is always the butt of the joke, but how he never laughs in character. And that's really important because if the character is the butt of the joke, they cannot give away that they are aware that they are in a comedy. And it's the same reason why, like, you can't have a character who cries too much. I mean, you can, but a character who cries a lot isn't inherently sad. A character who tries not to cry is sad. A character who laughs isn't funny. A character who tries not to laugh is funny. Character who is happy all the time doesn't give you hope. A character who is happy despite every instinct in their body telling them that they shouldn't be happy is something that gives you hope. Like that's just a natural byproduct. Like it's almost like you're fighting with the art. And that's exactly what Renako is doing in these past two episodes, where she is just freaking the fuck out. Just nonstop. Just all the comedic faces. Like, she is terrified. She does not realize that she is in a Yuri harem show. She thinks she's in a horror film. She thinks that she is actually going to die because of this stuff. And that is funny. This is a funny show. This has been the funniest show I've watched in a long time. As far as, like, just things that have made me laugh out loud. Alia is also the same way, by the way. Alia was probably the last rom-com that I truly enjoyed. Obviously, Alia and Maki Ine, they were coming out at the same time. I love them both. And I've seen some other, like, good rom-coms since then. There was that, I saw More Than Married Couple, but Not Quite Lovers. I liked that a lot. I liked, I thought the Shrine Maiden show was okay. The Amagami Sisters, I thought that was all right. There are some other like older ones that I watched that I liked, and the Office Worker romance from earlier this year I really liked, but none of them made me laugh. Even Ollie didn't make me laugh as much as No, I Will Not Be Your Lover has made me laugh. Maki Ine did make me laugh this much, so I would say Maki Ine was the last time that I had laughed this much at an anime. Uh, But with Maki Ine and Alia, there's also a lot of serious stuff some like real meat that I can like sink my teeth into. Some like really interesting character stuff. It's not really any of that with No, I will not be your lover. Um, they're just all a bunch of gay idiots. That's the whole show. They're just a bunch of gay idiots who don't know what they're doing. Bunch of stupid teenagers, bunch of stupid horny teenage girls who like boobies. Uh, but Alia is the same way in that Alia is oftentimes the butt of the joke and doesn't realize it. Like, she has no clue that Masachika and Yuki are fucking with her. She has no clue that Masachika knows everything that she's saying and is rolling with the punches just to like just to see where it goes, just to see how far he can push this. Uh, Even in Volume 10, I'm not caught up with Volume 10. I think there's like 7 chapters that have been translated. And I'm on like chapter 6. And then there's going to be like 10 chapters total, plus the epilogue. Because that's just how these light novels are structured. Um, in Volume 10 of Alia, Yuki even sits her down and is like, "This is the joke. I am explaining the joke to you." And Masachika sets her aside like, "You have to understand. Yuki's a troll. This is a joke. We're making fun of you." And Alia still can't compute. Like, she's still like, just be like, you know what? It's just easier for me to think that Yuki has DID, dissociative disorder. Uh, and so like that told me that like the joke's not going to end anytime soon. The Alia will continue to be fucked with, even though she's much more aware of it now than she was in, say, like Volume 1, when they were really. Yuki was mean to her in Volume 1. Especially with the spicy food situation. But Alia just keeps falling for it. It's hilarious. Uh, but now let's talk about Rascal. Rascal does not dream of a plot kicking in. The plot has kicked in. Uh, we have the titular Santa Claus character. We had the first arc resolved. She kind of like, I'm not really sure what the point it was trying to make was. It just kind of ended. But now there's like the mystery of like, oh, this Toko Kirishima, who is the mysterious idol that was talked about a couple times before in the movies and stuff. This like weird idol who just showed up on YouTube one day and took the world by storm, and no one knows who she actually is. No one knows what she really looks like. And now she's like walking around in a skimpy Santa Claus suit, giving puberty syndrome to people, which is something that sounds way different in English than it has with the Japanese connotation. Because skimpy, sexy Santa Claus girl giving people puberty, that sounds more like a sexual awakening. And I think the writers are aware of that, because that is the joke that Sakata makes. I did not watch the newest episode yet, but I know that it's whatever former classmate of Sakata. She has like something that allows her to like tell the future or something. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But now I'm gonna spend the rest of this weekly roundup talking about One Piece, because the new episode was ass. Like, there was some good old fashioned Dressrosa era Toei level ass. Like, something like 5 pages got adapted in the 23-minute episode. Like, that is shameful. That is shameful, especially after like the 6-month hiatus it went on last year. And there's a new opening coming out apparently with next episode. Looking forward to that. Um, but the fight with Saturn is still like just getting started. Luffy hasn't really shown back up yet. He is eating though. He's gonna jump in. I think he's gonna be jumping in next episode because this episode had Kizaru getting back up and joining the fight again. So I know it's not gonna be long before Luffy pops up. But who knows? With the way Toei's been pacing, apparently next week is a recap episode. Like, oof, oof, ooh, Toei's gonna Toei. Ooh, this is the stuff that made me drop the One Piece anime and to become manga only. And speaking of the manga has been kind of all over the place. This flashback has had no focus whatsoever. Like it's got a bunch of hype moments and aura, but that's kind of all it has. It is nowhere near the best flashback in One Piece. For that reason, like there's just so little focus. Like remember, this was supposed to be Loki talking about how Harold died. And we got like the glimpse of that in the first chapter of this flashback, and then it flashed back even further to Harold's youth. And Harold is barely in this chapter. It's just a lot of the Roger Pirates and Rocks getting together, meeting Silver Axe, who is a character no one cares about, and um, he's just not important. He's just another guy who is on the Rocks crew. Like at least with like Wang Zi, he has like some world building stuff. Captain John, that's the guy whose treasure Buggy's been going after. Okiku, I think is his name. He was the guy on who ran Pirate Island after Rocks died, and who Blackbeard took out to become an emperor. Or maybe Blackbeard was already an emperor by that point, but Blackbeard took him out for good. Then, of course, like Big Mom and Kaido and Whitebeard and Shiki, those are all really important characters. Those are all characters who became emperors at various points. And then, of course, Rocks himself. I think something that this flashback is doing well is showing why Rocks failed. Rocks is really powerful. He is undoubtedly Yonko level. I think most of the Yonko have surpassed him. They have definitely surpassed him when it comes to like influence and longevity. Rocks was an era that was short-lived and swept into obscurity because nobody gave a fuck about him. Every single one of his crewmates hated him. Nobody wanted to follow in his footsteps. Nobody wanted to do things the way he did. Even his own son, like Blackbeard, is going a completely different route than what Rocks did. Because they learned their lesson, like, this is not how you run a pirate crew. This is how you get backstabbed. This is how you get betrayed. This is how you get left abandoned on God Valley to fight the entirety of the Roger Pirates, the God Valley Knights, and the Marines with Garp. Like, and even with that, with the way we first heard about Rocks as like he was the greatest challenge for Roger, that puts him in a position against Roger that Kaido held for Luffy. And so if Luffy is on his way to surpassing Roger, it makes sense for Kaido to have surpassed Rocks in strength. Yes, I think Kaido, Big Mom, Shanks, Whitebeard, Roger all surpassed Rocks. And I think Luffy and Blackbeard are going to surpass all of them. Because they have people who have their back through thick and thin, no matter what, who will help the character, who will help their captain get stronger. Whereas Rocks, as soon as he started like he got left. And I bet that's what's going to happen. I bet in the next chapter 2 we're going to get a glimpse of God Valley, and it's not going, and we're going to see like how all the cracks in Rocks' facade just all crack away. Uh, but this chapter also put Roger on fraud watch. This is a young Roger. This is a Roger who has not gone up against Rocks yet. This is a Roger who is maybe like Yonko Commander level. But he gets styled on by Shaki. That was fun. Shaki's a baddie. I think Gloriosa is hotter. I think Roger is a fraud, not because this chapter makes him look weak, but because he has the perfect woman fawning over him, and he would still rather just date a scoundrel like Shaki. But what I really like about that is the differences between Roger and Luffy. So much of early One Piece was defined as like, oh, Luffy, he's so much like Roger. He smiles like Roger. He gives no shit like Roger. He is fighting like a monster for his friends like Roger. He's saying the same things Roger said. Um, Luffy is not Roger though. And that is most clear with his fighting style. He never tries to implement Roger's fighting style. He is not a swordsman. He is a brawler. He is much more like Garp in that aspect, which makes sense because Garp's the one who taught him how to fight. Uh, but even beyond that, now we're like Roger is a horn dog. Luffy's not. Luffy would not give a fuck about the Kuja Pirates. Luffy actively doesn't give a fuck about the Kuja Pirates' beauty. He likes Hancock because Hancock was nice to him. He likes, what's her name? Margaret. Margaret's the one he actually likes out of the Kuja Pirates because she's the one who, like, helped him and saved him and protected him when he was on Amazon Lily, got him back on his feet. Like, that's the one he really digs. I do think he will maybe end up with Boa Hancock at the end. I think that there is still more story to tell with Hancock that can only be facilitated by her meeting back up with Luffy. But we'll see how that plays out. Um, I am also fond of the opinion that Luffy being the least horny character in One Piece is why he's going to beat Emu. I have been saying I want Emu to be a woman for a long time because Emu is effectively the god of the earth. Like the closest thing to a god that exists in this series, and they portray themselves as the god of the earth. And historically, mythologically speaking, earth gods are almost always female. And I think it would be hilarious. Just, it's not going to happen. It's not, this is a pipe dream. But I think it would be absolutely fucking hilarious if one of the reasons why Roger didn't do anything about Emu is because Emu is a very beautiful woman. But Luffy gives no fucks. Luffy is the GOAT. That's my Pirate King. He's gonna be the one to surpass Roger's legacy because Luffy does not give a fuck about women. I mean, that's a bad way of phrasing it, but he's not a horn dog. He's not perverted. He doesn't care about sex or like romance in that regard. He is not afraid to punch a bitch. He slapped Vivi, and Vivi is his friend. Slapped some sense into her because she was being dumb. Being like, I just gotta sacrifice myself, and that's all that matters, and I can save everybody else if I just let myself die. Livy's like, no, that's not gonna solve anything, you dumb bitch. Not to say Vivi's a bitch, just saying it for comedic effect. Vivi's a great character, I love her. But that's just the kind of person Luffy is. Like, Luffy is completely immune to Boa Hancock's charm because he just doesn't see women that way. Whereas Roger did. Roger would absolutely get dogged on by Hancock, and we know that for a fact now. Uh Another theory I really like is the other Amazonian, other Kuja woman who is introduced in this chapter. Like Gloriosa, we know a little bit. She's Elder Neon. Shaki, we obviously know she's a very prominent character. She gets married to Rayleigh. She lives on Sabaody. She's helped us out a lot. Um, the other one that gets introduced, there's a theory going around that that is Luffy's mom. And there's been a lot of Luffy's mom theories over the years. Pretty much every time a prominent female character gets introduced, like, oh, I wonder if that's Luffy's mom. This is the only one that makes me feel like it's real. Because this is the one that is just oozing with tragedy. Luffy is a character who does not have thought bubbles. He always speaks as he thinks. He does not talk about his past. And it's because he doesn't want to think about his past. We know about his past with Shanks. We know about his past with Ace and Sabo. We don't know anything about before that. And I feel like we're not going to get it until Luffy and Dragon meet, and we're going to get like a Dragon backstory arc. But there's just something very Luffy-like about her smile in this chapter, which is one of the reasons why people have been jumping on this theory. But every other Luffy's mom theory, it feels like it's a comedic gag, like Crocodile. That's just hilarious. This one feels like it's going to hurt. Like, if she is Luffy's biological mother, and she is the one that Dragon fell in love with, this Oda has the potential to outdo himself again. If that is the case. Because there's something very tragic about the missing Kuja princess. And something very tragic about, like, the one character who looks the brightest out of these three eventual Kuja empresses. Actually, one of them, Gloriosa, is the active Kuja empress in this time period. And then it's like Shaki's the next, and then it's whoever this girl is, if she is Luffy's mom. And then after that, it's Hancock. But yeah, there's just an inherent tragedy about, like, the one who smiles the brightest being the only one out of these three characters who doesn't get to see Luffy become a strong pirate. Like, if that is his mom, that's going to be so fucking sad. That out of these three people on the Kuja Pirates, that she is the only one who doesn't get to see her son grow up. I'm making myself sad just thinking about it. I really hope that's the case. This is one of those cases where, like, I'm predicting something, and I really, really hope that this is the direction Oda is taking it. Because I want to be hurt. I want Oda to hurt me again like he did with Kuma. Because the Herald backstory just isn't doing it for me. Yeah, that's all I have for the weekly roundup. That's everything that I've been watching and commenting on, except Catholicism. My Twitter timeline has been flooded with that recently. I don't think I want to, like, get into it because I really want to do my research and have, like, the sources properly quoted. But I will say this: a lot of Catholics are just either willfully unaware or just way too willful to ignore the corruption that goes on in the Catholic Church. Because, see, the way that Protestantism is structured, when a priest comes out as corrupt, they're not biblical. They get ousted. They get thrown under the bus and like, oh, they weren't as godly of a man as they pretended to be. But when a Catholic priest, especially the Pope, comes out as corrupt, it delegitimizes the entire papistry. Because they are supposed to be God's ordained. They are supposed to not be chosen by, the educational merits of Bible college. They are supposed to be chosen by God himself to be the arbiters of his will and be the only people who are allowed to interpret his scripture and preach it to the masses, and yet no two popes agree with each other, which makes God seem fickle. The God, according to the Catholics, is a fickle person who changes his mind each generation. And like I said, there have been corrupt popes in the past. There have been popes who have gone against what the Bible explicitly says, and they just pretend that didn't happen. Now, no offense to any Catholics who watch my channel, but there's so much about Catholic dogma and doctrine and tradition that is just lies. The Catholic Church was founded by Constantine. The word Catholos or Catholic, depending on the pronunciation, that appears in the Bible literally just means whole church. They try to ignore all the orthodoxies and traditions that are older than them, and then they pretend that none of that matters and that the Catholic Church is the only true church and that everyone else is just a rebel or corrupt, even though they're the ones with the proven track record of covering up for child molestation cases and having people actively assassinated. Yeah, that happened a couple times throughout Catholic history. Political assassination. But the reason why it bugs me so much is because Catholicism with the Vatican, it treats itself like a state. It is a political entity more than a religious one, and that's just so antithetical to what the Bible preaches. Not just the Bible, just most religions in general are very much meant to be separate from the whims of politicians. That's how the Hebrews were structured, where the Levites, who were supposed to be the keepers of the law, keepers of God's laws and prophecies, they were not allowed to own land. They were not allowed to have their own territory within Israel. They were forced to spread out and inhabit the other tribes. Joseph got 2 tribal locations. Everyone else got 1. Levi got none. And it was because Levi was meant to be the priesthood class, separate from the ruling governors of the 12 tribes. That is how ancient Japanese stuff was structured, and ancient Hindu stuff was structured, where the emperor would be separate from the main priest, still unified and still in alliance, but still kind of different branches. Whereas with Catholicism, it's all the same branch. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. That's really it. Thank you all for joining me. Next week, I will be talking about Jurassic World. The reason why I started doing the stream today at 3:30 instead of 4:30 or 5 is because as soon as people get here, we are watching Jurassic World Rebirth, which is probably going to be terrible, but hopefully not. Hopefully all the critics are wrong on this, they weren't wrong about the other Jurassic World movies, but I liked them anyway. So hopefully I enjoyed this one. But I'll be talking all about Jurassic World, as well as catching up on Witch Watch, and continuing Don and Don and No, I Will Not Be Your Lover, and maybe more sad One Piece theories next time on the live show. Thank you all for watching, and have